I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, NDP Member of Parliament, Leah Gazan, Winnipeg Centre.
Can you hear me? Every time I get up behind a podium, I always have to ask, can you see me? It's such an honor to be with all of you today on unceded Algonquin territory for this very, very historic event, the release of the final report on the missing and disappeared Indigenous children and unmarked burials in Canada. I'd like to start out by thanking Special Interlocutor Kimberly Murray for compiling and delivering her report on disappeared children and unmarked graves. You have set an exceptional standard for all future work on disappeared children and investigations into genocide facilitated at residential schools. This task of uncovering and documenting the details of residential school system and its genocidal consequences was difficult, hard work, especially as we are seeing a rise of hate across this country, including anti-Indigenous racism and residential school denialism. I want to thank you so much for your tremendous commitment and service to our nations across the country. I also want to take a very brief moment to mention Honorable Murray Sinclair. I'm thinking about him tonight and certainly his families as they work through a very difficult time. He is certainly in my heart tonight, and he's in the heart of many people in the room. I also want to acknowledge elders that have come, knowledge keepers, and parents, the parents of residential school survivors who we often forget about in the discussion, the parents who suffered such great loss, the silence that came every September when their kids went off to the schools. I want to honor them today as well. And the youth, you are not the leaders of tomorrow, you are the leaders of today. You give me profound inspiration. You are courageous and you're truthful, and I learn so much from all of you. Now to the survivors. I love you. You are beautiful. You are powerful. You are magnificent. You are an inspiration. You are loved. I want to thank you for your gift of stories. Your stories come with a great responsibility, and I honor you, and I carry that love with me in the House of Commons. To the survivors that are not with us today, ones that are struggling in my very own backyard, the ones that are often forgotten, you are an inspiration. You are loved. You are magnificent. And I thank you for your gift of stories. Let us all embrace you in your absence at this event today. And to the children who never made it home, you are loved. You are honored. We respect you. We will embrace your stories and ensure that residential school denialism doesn't result in an erasure of your truths. This creeping racism and hate against Indigenous people, racism that we know as Indigenous people is certainly nothing new, but it's creeping more and more into public discourse, even in the halls of so-called power, and we must put an end to it. We must stop it. We must honor and protect survivors, always. Survivors, their stories, and that's why I tabled a private member's bill to end residential school denialism, adding it to the criminal code alongside other forms of hate like Holocaust denialism. And I'm so very pleased that my good friend and special interlocutor to hear today that this is supported in obligation number 37 in her final report to combat the willful promotion of hatred against Indigenous people by condoning, denying, downplaying, or justifying the residential school system. What we are seeing from denialists is plainly an effort to distort and undermine the truths uncovered through the National Commission for Truth and Reconciliation. And it's up to our leaders, all of us, to step up and push back against this denialism, because it's not freedom of speech, it is hate speech, full stop. This kind of hate speech is not some innocent search for truth as denialists often frame it. This is a willful act of spreading misinformation. It is violent, and survivors must be honored, and their stories and truths must be protected. Residential school denialism, as we all know, is an attempt to undermine those efforts made to rectify the genocidal residential school system and to perpetuate the destruction of Indigenous peoples. Above all, it is a means for denialists to displace any responsibility for this state-facilitated genocide away from those who benefited from colonization and to blame Indigenous people themselves for the consequences of genocide they've experienced and are continue to experience even today. And as Honorable Murray Sinclair stated in quotes, the people who believe that they have the privilege of holding power and should continue to have that privilege, they're going to push back. They're going to fight against reconciliation. They're the deniers of the story. They're going to say it never happened, that the schools were all about education, and that Indians should be thankful that they got an education. This is violent. And all levels of government and community leadership must push back against this rhetoric and ensure that the truth, as told through the stories of survivors and their families, is protected. And again, this requires all levels of government. And it's essential that a wide range of policies be used to protect survivors from continuing to experience violence. And that includes education on the history of residential schools and criminalizing as a hate crime residential school denialism as hate speech. But it also needs to include ways of honoring survivors, such as a survivor's pin to ensure survivors are treated with the highest level of respect, always, like veterans of war. The sharing of their stories, of your stories, your truths, are heroic. But we know that unfortunately there are some people who will ignore all evidence and fail to show compassion, who spread denialist disinformation for their own personal gain. And as the special interlocutor, Kim Murray, has concluded, this kind of residential school denialism is decisively being perpetrated by non-Indigenous people, and it is not our problem to fix it. It's up to non-Indigenous people to implement strategies to meaningfully address their own behavior. Insofar as denialism violates, in addition, Article 13 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, recognizing that the right of Indigenous peoples to, in quotes, to revitalize, use, develop, and transmit to future generations their histories, languages, oral traditions, philosophies, writing systems, and literatures. The government is obligated through Bill C-15 to uphold the truth and combat denialism. Because we know what the residential school system was designed to do: permanently silence Indigenous peoples, to kill the Indian in the child. But it's because of the gifts offered by survivors, warriors, in the form of stories provided to the National Center of Truth and Reconciliation, that we know the truth about this system and can work to restore Indigenous ways of living. It is absolutely critical that we protect stories and bring justice to those trying to silence Indigenous peoples once again. Now, I wanted to end with a story. I like telling stories. I tell a lot of stories in the House of Commons. So I'm about 40 years old. I'm a single mom. I'm lying in bed. I'm working on Idle No More or something, or the National Inquiry. I can't remember what I was fighting. I've been an activist my whole life. And I'm tired. And I just finished a press release, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I'm a full-time academic. And then in the evenings, in the afternoons, and early in the mornings, I'm fighting in the revolution. And I ask myself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I working myself to burnout? And then I thought, everything has been put in our way as Indigenous peoples to strip us of our right to joy. Everything, residential, all the institutions have been put in our path to strip us of our right to joy. And then it came to me. So living joy, in fact, is a revolutionary act. To all the survivors in the room, the suffering that you've endured, I want to embrace you with the joy revolution, with all the love around you today in this room, and ensure your stories are protected, and to give you a peace of mind so that you can go on your own revolution journey, because now is your time to celebrate your right to joy. Thank you very much.